been based the last month. You can't go too over the speed limit. You gotta remember a full 3 second stop at every stop sign.
I went down from exit 55 out to north today.
Yeah.
4 of them sitting in the
Oh,
median.
it's been insane. On base, outside of the base.
Are we on?
Not quite.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to Tuesday, June 3rd Planning Commission meeting. Call the meeting to order. First order of business is approval of the minutes from the March 4th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, first action item, since we have a new planning commission, we do have election of a board chairman and a vice chairman. So open the floor for nominations for the chairperson.
I'll nominate Aaron as chair.
I would second that.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I guess I stay in the position. Okay, now we need to nominate a vice chairman.
I'd nominate Rochelle Brooke.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second for Rochelle to be the vice. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Rochelle is the vice chairman. Okay, move on to our second order, or our second action item here. Consideration of the 3 Mile Area Policy Agreement with Meade County.
Thanks and congratulations, Aaron.
Thank you.
Up for consideration now is the amendment to the 3 Mile jurisdiction with Meade County. If you remember, actually back in our March meeting, we did the what we call the de-annexation or the adjustment of the municipal boundaries, where we excluded the development up on the top of Sly Hill above the football field, which is being platted as and known as Whiskey Ridge subdivision. So when we took that property and took it out of the city, accordingly, we needed to adjust our 3 Mile jurisdiction, and that area would fall into area number 2, which goes back to the county jurisdiction and the county subdivision standards, which means that they have to build the roads and the lot size and the water system all to the county standards, and that plat will go through the county side of things. It'll go to the county planning, zoning, and to the county commissioners for approval, and that was the whole reason why we did the de-annexation. So in doing that's the only change that we did make to the existing agreement. I went up before the Planning and Zoning Commission and then the county commissioners, presented this to them. And like I said, that was the only significant changes is we put that area back into area 2. You can see here what those requirements are, and basically they everything gets built to the county standards. So with that, we would be looking for a recommendation from the Planning Commission to recommend approval, and then this would go in front of the City Council on June 16th. And I'd answer any questions you have.
Pretty cut and dried.
It
It's
is.
a pretty simple deal. Only question I have is if we ever would get sewer up there and stuff, roads, would it come back into the city at that time? or would it stay as a county?
So, I mean, that certainly is always an option, and a couple of ways that the city can annex property is either by the city doing a forced annexation where we say, hey, we want to annex this in and grow the city, or the landowners could petition and do what they call a voluntary annexation. You know, given the locale, and that was one of the considerations we had in de-annexing it, I don't see that's ever going to happen, given the condition and the history on Sly Hill Road and the road failures that we've had there in the past. I mean, right now, the city wouldn't be in favor of anybody digging and bringing utilities down that road, because again, that's going to be the problem is it's sandstone, and if we fracture that, that's why we ended up with those failures. Water-wise, we're right at the elevation where we probably, unless we get some tanks higher up, we're at an elevation where we can't provide the needed pressure of water up that high. And like I said, sewer, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the route would be, but if in the future things changed and that did happen, yes, there is a way where that can be annexed back in.
Okay. That's all I had on it. There any other questions or comments? Anything from the public? Okay, do we have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a first by Rochelle,
I'll second.
and we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Third item is consideration for use on review for 1040 Junction Avenue to allow property to be used as a motorcycle. Sturgis Harley-Davidson.
Right, so Hog Wild LLC has submitted an application for a use on review for the property located at 1040 Junction Avenue, which is better known as the Sturgis Harley-Davidson shop. The owners there wish to expand the current use of the property to include motorcycle sales and repair. A public hearing was set by the council for June 3rd, 2025, so that's where we're at tonight, where this request will be presented to the Planning Commission for their recommendation to the council. The property in question is currently zoned as general commercial, which does not allow for a dealership. However, it is also located within the downtown overlay district, and the downtown overlay district does allow for that use and supersedes the zoning. And that downtown overlay district basically runs from Sherman Street over to Lozelle Street, and then from Middle up to 4th is the downtown overlay district. So that's what they're after. That does fit within the overlay district rules. We did send out certified letters to all of the property owners within 200 feet of that, notifying them of the public hearing tonight. So if there is anybody here that would want to speak in favor or not, now would be the time for any public comment on that particular subject. And also, I believe there's a few of the representatives here from Hog Wild LLC. If they've got anything they would like to add to it, you're more than welcome. This is the time to come. If you want to come up and address the commission. And if you would just state your name for the record and what you've got to.
Hello, Mike Maloney, here on behalf of the dealership. Like you said, you know, we've made big expansions to that and a remodel in the last year, and have worked closely with Harley-Davidson Motor Company to allow us a second point to sell and retail motorcycles, and that includes servicing them. So this application is the next step in the development of that. Want to be a year-round dealership, a proud Blackhawk, born and raised, 49 county plate guy, and I'm happy to be able to expand the business, what we're doing with Black Hills Harley in Rapid City, and adding another point here in Sturgis. And again, year-round, it's going to bring additional jobs. It's going to bring additional revenue and taxes to the city. So appreciate your consideration.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hey, I own the Bandits Emporium at 1008 Main Street. I'm really in favor of this. This is sort of one of my dreams for Sturgis and for the growth of the community, is to have a full-blown Harley-Davidson dealership here in town. I'm also on the board of directors of the Sturgis Museum, and one of my pet comments about the city is that, one, we need a full-blown Sturgis Harley-Davidson, and two, we'd like to have a world-class Sturgis Museum. And so, to me, it was really exciting when I found out about this, and I'm real supportive. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Keith.
So, yeah, it staff, myself, the city administrator, Jordan, Mayor Forrester, have met with, had a couple of meetings with representatives from the Sonic Group, and we support what they want to do. I think that, you know, I find it ironic that we're having the 85th motorcycle rally this year, and we don't have a Harley-Davidson dealer in Sturgis. So I think from a city standpoint, the staff certainly supports this, and we look forward to being good partners with this group, and I think it's certainly a benefit for the community. So
I know. I know as a rider, I'm glad to see it. Been in and visited guys a couple times, so I think it's a great addition. Is there any other public input on this? Any other questions or concerns? Anything from here?
Nope.
Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'd make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consideration for use on review. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Sly Hill Edition, City of Sturgis, Meade County, South Dakota.
So this is a project that the council has been working on for better part of 18 months, maybe a little bit longer. Again, we had two different properties that were being considered between the council and the Meade 46-1 school district. They were the Woodfield properties and the Fairgrounds properties. The council did not take action on the fairground property. However, they did sign a letter of intent with the school district for the Woodle Field. We were just trying to navigate through some potential issues that we had, and at one point in time, it was maybe understood that that property was encumbered by a program that's called the Land, Water, and Conservation Fund. And typically when we have those types of properties, for example, the lighting project that we did down at the soccer field, we had gotten some grant money from the Game Fish and Parks and the National Park Service. They administer that grant, and when you do that, you have to enroll a certain amount of property into this program, which basically means that it's dedicated, it has an encumbrance on it, that means that it's going to be open to recreation and to the public. They had some changeover in staff, and the new people at the Game Fish and Parks, when we started visiting with them, they came back and said, hey, wait a minute, why are we doing this? We don't show that this property has an encumbrance on it. And so we verified that through the National Park Service in Washington, D.C. They came up with the same thing, said, yeah, we don't show that this property's been encumbered by the LWCF program, so go ahead and do whatever you want. So really that's what we're doing, is we had baseline surveying. We'd been working on this probably better part of a year ago. We had them come in and determine what that area was. We held on the front, kind of the back of the bike path, and then we offset the existing fences around the Woodle Field, I believe by 5 feet, just in case we needed, the school district needed to do some work. They would have a little bit of a buffer, and it came up to, when it was said and done, this does include the area if you're familiar with Whittle Field, the area on the east that they use for the discus area, it does include that area down to the pump track, is right at 7.85 acres. And in the letter that the city council did approve with the school district, there is a already set price that was agreed upon. So this is just kind of the final touches of that, making it legal so that we're able to deed that property to the school district. The background kind of there, why the school district wants it, they're doing some significant improvements next year to the field. They're going to turf it. They're installing some new water lines, water mains that will enable them to leave the concessions and the bathrooms on earlier in the year and leave them on a little bit later. Right now, those lines currently run through the park and are tied into our irrigation system. So once the temperatures get below freezing, we have to worry about that because those lines are only buried about 6 inches deep, and some of them run up into the buildings, into the ceiling. So when we get to cold weather, which I mean can be anywhere from May and as early as September, we have to winterize those facilities, and it really causes some issues with what's going on at that facility. So again, this is just kind of the final stages of getting that done. Getting the plat done. This will be approved, be presented to the council for approval, and will be done by resolution, and then the plat filed. This here kind of shows you that red line is the area that we're talking about with that plat. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So the parking lot will stay city property
The-
and maintained by the city?
The parking lot will continue to be used under the same shared use agreement that we have in place now. That won't change. The only part that will change is that agreement will have to be, there'll be an addendum made because right now, the agreement covers the entire property to include the parking lot. We'll take out the Whittle Field part. The council and the school district did have conversations about making sure that this remains open for the public so that when it's not in use by the school, the walkers can still go there and walk around the track or run. But when there's a school activity, then of course they would have complete control, be able to charge admission, just currently like it's being used now. The goal would be the school would like to use it a lot more, and one of the problems with it in its existing state is that grass can only handle so much use when it's turf. I mean, they can play on it 24/7, 7 days a week, and not have the problems of having to water or mow it. It kind of turns to dirt if it gets overused. So certainly a good project and one that the city and the city council supports.
So the Smith track meet that was just recently, that was a private type of thing?
So the
Was that
Jeff
still
Smith
good?
track meet is a middle school track meet. It is not ran by the school districts, so to speak. It's an invitational, and it was put together by Jeff's folks some years ago, and has become a pretty elite event, but it's not ran through the Mead 46-1. It kind of is private, but it's still a school sanctioned function.
So there should be no issue with ever hurting that one?
No. We don't foresee any significant changes in the use of the football field, other than it will be used more often than it is in its current state.
Okay. Any questions or concerns from the public? Any from the planning commission? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
We have a first. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, our fifth item here is a variance request for gravel surfacing at 3570 Hanson Avenue to be used as an equipment storage parking area.
So this one is similar to other variance requests that we've seen out in the industrial park. I was out there the other day, and I believe we have 9 such lots out in that industrial park where this is not necessarily the primary parking. They have a paved primary parking, but this is something where they want to store trailers, bigger equipment that would necessarily probably disturb, pavement. It just isn't real conducive. So the owners of Unique Performance at 3570 Hanson have requested a variance to that section of Title 180513 that states all lots used for parking of vehicles and for the storage and display and all driveways used for vehicle ingress and egress shall be constructed of concrete, asphalt, and maintained in a good condition. What they're asking for is for a variance of kind of this area right here. They would like to construct that parking pad. We don't necessarily, I don't have any issues with what they want to do. Again, I think it conforms to what we've allowed out there in the past. What we're looking for is the approval of that variance request. We sent out certified letters to all the adjoining landowners. We did receive one comment back. If you want, I will read it into the record. Or if you, Amanda is here from the SEDC. If you want to speak, or I'll read it.
Go ahead. Come on up.
Good evening. Amanda Anglin. I'm the Executive Director of the Sturgis Economic Development Corporation, and we are involved in the industrial park. And I'm not necessarily opposed to what they're trying to do with the gravel parking lot. I think it's necessary to accommodate the businesses that they have in their building. What I do have concerns about is I've asked that property owner numerous times to conduct an official survey to know exactly where the boundaries are of the property. SEDC owns property on actually kind of 2.5 sides. We own the drainage ditch, the property to the east, and then the property to the west, kind of where there's a little L shape there on that red diagram. So I just want to ensure that the gravel parking lot that's being constructed, or which already is constructed, does not fall on SEDC's property. So that's my concern, is that the survey has not been completed. There was a stake put out on the corner by the drainage ditch down on the right-hand side of that picture down in the corner, just to kind of gauge potentially where that lot line is, but a full survey has not been done. Secondly, the gravel lot has already been constructed, and I myself notified the property owner numerous times because we were discussing this. They wanted to do the gravel lot on the east side of the property and then purchase land from SEDC, and we decided to not do that transaction because we have a very small amount of land left in the industrial park, and to sell it for parking just doesn't fit within our mission. So, yes, the survey, the gravel parking lot is already constructed, so we just don't know where the lot lines are exactly, where they're exactly at. And I guess those are basically just my two. And I'm not opposed to the gravel parking lot, just making sure that we're following the right process. The work has already been done, and it hasn't even necessarily been approved, and we're not exactly sure where the lot lines are. So those are my concerns with this variance.
So I can address those, and I've met with the owners. I was made aware of this actually by Amanda and Paul, and went out there, and we did tell them they had to stop doing what they're doing and go through this process. I have met with them, and I did tell them that should this get approved, they'll have to come in and apply for a permit, for a grading permit. When they do that, they will have to have a survey. They've been told that, and they know that. I mean, the variance request is for the hard surfacing. The permitting that will follow up, should they be granted that, will require the permit and the survey. That's why it hasn't been done yet is because if for whatever reason you guys would decide to not recommend approval of this, they may not need it. But certainly those things are going to be addressed as we move forward with this. This is just the first step of the process. And like I said, I did meet with them and we put it on hold. They had started, unlike a lot of different projects in town, people get started before they truly understand what's needed. So I think they've got a good grasp of what they need to do. You know, I talked to them about what their drainage, you know, they can't drain it onto other people's property. They certainly have a need to get those. I've been talking to them for a few months about the tractor trailers that are parked in the right of way. We had storage containers of fluids, totes stored out in the right of way, and those things can't be there. So, you know, this is something that
Have they addressed those?
They have, in some of it's been moved, and then again, what's left there, they're looking for an area. The other thing is they did get an agreement with the adjacent landowner to the south, which their overall goal is to put some drive-through bays in here so that the company that they're renting to can drive through the building and actually pull out, go all the way out to the south is what they've indicated to me is one of the main goals. And that area to the south is actually a big gravel area that we approved a variance on some years ago when it we do have some measures in place to make sure all of the items brought forward are attended to and followed through, that they have to do those things. And if for whatever reason, when we get to that point, they have done something that is on somebody else's property, they'll have to restore that, of course. But that's kind of where we're at with this.
Ask a question, just because I'm not familiar with drainage. Since they've already started the process and gravel is already, like, all of that is not correct, what does that fall back on? What's that look like for them?
Well, they would have to remove and restore it. They haven't disturbed enough area to have like a stormwater prevention plan that issued by the state. And again, we made them aware of all these requirements and said, hey, for the time being, you have to stop what you're doing. There's a certain amount of getting the cart before the horse, and there's a certain amount of it's their property. If they want to do some general grading and smoothing things out, no different than you guys on your property, you don't have to necessarily pull a permit to knock down a high spot or to, but again, if you're doing something that is going to cause your water or your drainage to go onto another person's property, then we have those issues. The other problem we have here is actually on the corner of their lot. I mean, it is meant to drain into the detention pond. So again, that's what this big area here is an actual, that's a rock area that goes into the detention pond down there. So it's meant to take that surface drainage. But I guess, you know, what we're here for tonight is the variance on the hard surfacing requirement. All of those other pieces kind of get handled in a different manner through the permitting process. And again, depending on the size, they would have to pull a state permit with the DANR. We have some requirements that they have to meet because we're an MS4 community. All of those things kind of come into play as we move forward down this path.
Do you mean they have to pull a permit if they're impacting the drainage?
If they disturb enough property, then yes, they have to get a stormwater prevention permit, which basically says that they're not, you know, this isn't going to erode away onto somebody else's property, that everything conforms to all the DANR standards. I mean, those are very common almost with any project. All of, like, for example, the projects we have going on right now, whether it be drilling the well or the sewer lines that we're installing, we pull a stormwater. I mean, I think it's if it's a half an acre or larger, then you have to do that. Any developers, when they develop a subdivision, they have to have a stormwater prevention plan that just basically accounts for, like, even when they're stockpiling topsoil, it's got to have the erosion control around it so that that stuff doesn't run off. And you know, the state is more worried about that stuff entering the bodies of the state, the water of the state. But we're looking at it from different aspects, even as far as, you know, we don't want to have this stuff running off into the street and the sediment going down into the storm drains and plugging those up and causing problems. So it gets a much greater look at it, and make sure that we kind of got all the I's dotted and the T's crossed.
Is that something you monitor, Rick, just knowing that there's drainage that goes from the 6-acre parcel all the way through over to that drainage ditch? If the work being done on that lot would impact that flow from the rest of the
We
park?
do, and
Okay.
if we have any, I mean, if we have any concerns about what they're doing, once we see their grading plan and all that, then the next step, we escalate it a little bit and say, hey, you know, this is something that we're not necessarily comfortable with. It looks like you have a greater impact. We want you to hire an engineer and have them engineer this and prove that the detention pond has the capacity, that everything we're doing, you know, stays on your property and runs correctly. Again, we haven't got to that point yet.
Okay.
The first part is getting the variance, and then I've told them, you know, you're gonna have to probably hire an engineer to do a drainage plan and show that there is no adverse effects on what you wanna do before the city will issue the permit.
Okay.
And then I have one last question, just because historically, this particular company has come in at least one other time not aware of the process that it needs to go through with some of their designs and options. They have been, from point A to point B, told the exact steps of what needs to be done from this point forward. I just have a problem if they've already started this job or this work, and they've been here before with work trying to be completed without going through the proper process. Are we looking at that again and in the future with them?
So I mean, they've certainly caught our attention, and you know, I had a pretty frank sit-down conversation with them and just said, look, you know, we're not opposed, nobody's opposed to what you want to do.
Right.
These are the steps that are needed to get from point A to point B, and if you complete all those, you really shouldn't have any issues, and nobody's gonna have any heartburn with it, but you have to do these. I mean, no different than if it were the SEDC or a different owner out there. I mean, everybody has to follow the same procedure, so, we've had that conversation, they agreed with it, they
Okay.
apologized, said they didn't know, they were just, thought they were leveling out, and they did. They had a big pile back there from when Murphy built the building, and they said, geez, we're just trying to level that out. I mean, we don't know what to do with the pile, and you know, I guess I gotta give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong that that's truly what they were doing. You know, in moving ahead, and if they don't do the steps or follow the processes that we have in place, you know, we'll issue a stop work order on it and revoke the variance.
If you revoke the building permit, we can revoke the variance.
Yeah.
I had a question. Coming out that south side, that's the south side, correct, where the blue lines coming for the?
Yes, that is.
Is there any concern with future track off through, I know that's a gravel yard, but
I mean, nothing more than again, I think it's hard to, we can't ask this applicant to do anything more than we've asked others. I mean, that's only fair, and again, we have 9 such areas out there. The last one issued was actually the SEDC. We issued it, and I think we have to in my mind, we have to be apples to apples and applicable and treat everybody fairly the same until there's reason to not do that. So that's where I'm at is let's give everybody the benefit until they prove differently, but we can't have different requirements for one owner than what we did for another. We gotta have a level playing field.
We've already set the precedent
Yes.
on this, so.
Rick, do I understand that the green line is where they want to actually access the property, and that blue rectangle is just a temporary area that they're going to use to access until they can maybe cut out the curb or do something in that?
Good question, and I don't have a good answer for you because I don't think that we're far enough in the plan to figure out. I mean, again, we said, hey, you got to stop what you're doing. In order to do this, the first thing is you have to get the variance for the hard surfacing requirement. If not, and they could still do this and hard surface it, then that's a whole different permit and a different set of plans. And so the first thing really was the variance. From that, all of these other questions will be answered. And again, no different than any other business that comes in. We have a process and a procedure for approving curb cuts and where they can come in and off of a street. And of course, that little gray area to the west there is actually a stormwater inlet. So we look at all of those different things, but they're handled through an internal permitting process. That's why, I mean, like, every curb cut doesn't come to planning and zoning because it's already handled. We already have specific details that have to be met. So I don't have the answers necessarily to all that because we haven't got that far into it, but somehow, yes, they would like to have access off of that road.
Okay, is there anything else from the public? Come on up.
My name's Emma Mack. We own that lot there that they want to drive through. We gave them permission with the assumption that they went through the proper channels. And now knowing that you've had this sit-down conversation to tell them to stop, as of yesterday, they had like 6 loads of gravel come in and they have completed their project. So when I got the certified letter last week, I called Amanda in confusion thinking
Sure.
they already had permission. So if this gets revoked, then we'll revoke our permission to cross our property, because I went out there today to try to find some corners and they've just got like a load of garbage out there, and it's definitely touching our property. And I know that they've had a couple other minor disputes with the people they're leasing with. So we just want to do our due diligence. We don't want to be wrapped up with these people if they're not going to play by the rules. So yes, as of yesterday, they were pretty much done.
Fair enough. I was not aware of that. I mean, I haven't been out there, so
Yeah,
I
was out
appreciate
there-
you speaking. Yes.
When I was out there this morning, it looked to me as though the lot was complete, or the gravel portion of it in the pink was done. And I too was out there yesterday and saw them working with a bobcat and moving gravel around, so.
The one thing about the people they're leasing it to, the gentleman, the project manager, came and talked to us and said, we've heard a couple different things. Can you confirm? And so we said, yeah, you can drive through it, no problem, if you need to get to your property. We're not really using it. We plan to build in the future, so we're like, drive through it, nobody cares. But they're going to be unloading a lot of heavy equipment and a lot of heavy piping for this job they're doing at the Sanford lab. So with that culvert where those blue arrows are, there's a culvert that runs under there that catches water from the road and then goes to the drainage pond. I don't know if that's going to hold the weight. I don't know what kind of culvert's in there, if it's going to hold the weight of what they're unloading. So that would be another concern, just because if that collapses.
It should. I mean, we have storm pipes. I mean, you drive over them. I mean, semis drive over them all the time. I mean, they're designed to hold that weight.
Okay, any other public comment? Any questions or concerns from the planning commission? I have some concerns, I guess. My concern is you put a stop work on them, basically. It's not permitted. They've done the work, it's completed, and now they're asking for forgiveness. I don't disagree with the process of a variance, What my problem is they seem to kind of be a little bit bully type. And we're gonna do it, maybe we'll get caught. If we don't, we got her done. That's my concern. In my mind, I think there needs to be more planning done, some plans, some things like that before they come to us to ask for a variance in this situation, since they've already started it. I agree with Amanda, where are the property lines? Figure that out, make sure you're not on other people's property. You know, a drainage study, probably gonna have to have that. That's where my stance is. I don't quite agree with trying to sneak in the back door and get it done. And I know they're probably under time constraints on their project, and they need this area, but you gotta go through the process. Anybody else have anything?
I'm going to mimic Aaron with, we've already had issues with them following the process with previous issues with planning and zoning or not knowing the process. If they have been sat down by Rick and Amanda educating them on the process. And as of today, knowing this was on the agenda, to complete the project without the variance, it just shows a history of them not wanting to play by the rules.
You know, I guess my thought is if they come back with a drainage plan, you know, kind of a set of plans that you can look at and make sure it's gonna work, get the survey done, come back and ask for the variance again, and then get the building permit, and then go through the steps. That's my take.
Well, I mean, regardless whether the planning commission approves or denies it, I mean, it still goes to city council on
Right.
the 16th, so.
Right.
Just
Yep.
for everybody's knowledge.
I'll echo, it sounds like they work on the method of asking for forgiveness before they do anything, and they are blowing their way in, and that doesn't seem right.
Anybody else?
I guess just the long-term plan, again, the permanent access to the area, whether it's through the building or through the green line over there, and how they're gonna deal with that, storm drain versus accessing across that blue area, you know, it just doesn't seem like a good long-term plan perhaps.
Right.
And if what we relieve them of from this section here, how that coincides with the future.
Correct. That's why I say I think before the variance, before they come to us with the variance, they should have a plan in place of all these things. They should sit down with Rick, make sure it's acceptable, and that he will issue a building permit for it. That's what I would like to see. So, any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
A motion to deny.
I'll second.
We have a motion to deny. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Is there any public comment on any other issues? We will not take action on them, though. Okay. Hearing none, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I'll move.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned.